Hello and welcome to the Sky Bet League One Predictions Show. I'm Craig Savage. With me is the returning Charlie Betts. And down below is Daniel Cody. Charlie, welcome back. We have missed you for the League 2-1. First of all, congratulations.
No, thank you very much. It means a lot. It's quite nice to actually talk about something other than babies and whatever else goes with it. So I'm quite pleased to be back talking about football. So yes, thank you for having me back.
Back to nonsense today.
Yes, yeah, definitely, yeah.
And Daniel Cody's here as well. If you haven't seen our League 2 predictions, first of all, where have you been? Check it out in the eye above. The rules for the game is as follows. It's 3 points for if you guess the team in the correct position. So, for example, if I said AFC Wimbledon to finish first and they finished first, that's 3 points. It's 1 point if your team in the right area. For example, if I said AFC Wimbledon finished second and they finished first, that's 1 point. And it's minus 1 point if, for example, I said AFC Wimbledon to finish second and they finished 20 seconds. So let's start off with the predictions of promotion for Daniel Cody. Who have you gone to win League One?
Well, we're back to the dangerous territory of me going first. So if Charlie's are similar, I can assure you it's his fault. Nothing to do with me. However, we start in first place. And I've got my top two very sorted, but I don't know which way they're going to finish. So I'm going to go for it. First place, Sunderland. Surely, it has to happen eventually. And it's so hard, to go on reputation and to not pick Sunderland to go up. Because you've got 35,000 fans potentially back in, and they're one of the grounds that will be able to social distance the best as fans come back in as well. So potentially, depending on how it goes, they could have more in more quickly. We don't really know what's happening with the salary cap in League One. It will affect some of the bigger teams, but most of them got their deals done before. So I'm going to have Sunderland to win it. There is no logic other than surely it has to happen eventually. And closely behind them, I've gone for Hull because they've had a massive overhaul this summer. It's going to be a really important season for them. Grant McCann, I think, is a good manager. I'm going to say this now, despite some of the results at the end of last year. I think he got completely shafted last January with Jarrod Bowen being sold, Grzycki being sold on the other wing. And they didn't even get really anything for Grzycki, less than $1 million. You could have just kept him for the rest of the year and had at least some quality in that team. So for me, he got shafted. This summer, he's done a big overhaul. I think he'll be able to take them up. But I do worry a little bit about off-the-pitch implications because of the situation with the owners.
Very interesting. Charlie, thoughts on these top two?
Well, if I'm honest, and I can show evidence of this, I sent my predictions to you because I didn't know if I was going to be available for this video. And actually, it's very similar to mine, but in a different order. So I completely agree with him. And the man is obviously talking complete sense. One thing I would say, I agree about the Grant McCann comment. Yeah, he was made the fall guy a little bit for something that probably wasn't his fault last year.
Great.
But yeah.
Cody, playoffs.
I've had a bit of a play with this. There's two teams just missing out, and I'll give you my reasons. But third, I've gone for Ipswich because, again, a good side. I think there might be managerial changes quite early on there, and I think they're going to get a good manager in who will potentially take them up. Not that I'm saying the current manager isn't. I'm just saying I think there will be an early change and some momentum to follow after that. And they have signed a couple of decent players already and a bit of experience. Stephen Maud, the Old Ireland international, a couple of others as well. So a bit of experience there. In fourth, status quo for Oxford United. I think they'll be in the playoffs again. They've got a good squad. There's not really been a huge amount of change or unsettling to the squad. So I think they'll be up there too. Fifth, and this is probably controversial based on the last week or so, I'm going for Peterborough because, as we said in the last episode, Craig, we're doing this probably 5 or 6 weeks before the window shuts, which is unheard of for the EFL. It's going to make it harder. But the Ivan Toney, Johnson Clark Harris, moving on, the domino effect, I think that's going to suit Peterborough. I think they're going to get the ball in the box. Johnson Clark Harris will continue his goal glut. And I think, if anything, Brentford are going to wish that they'd signed directly Johnson Clark Harris at the end of this season. Just my prediction. And in sixth place, I've got to put in a slightly controversial one, haven't I? I've gone for Burton Albion.
Right.
Ooh.
And I've gone for Burton Albion because they brought in some solid, experienced players. And I talked about this again in League Two, is about having bigger squads because of the games every 3 days this season, particularly in the league. I've gone for experience. The likes of Bostwick, the likes of Neil Erdley at right back, they've got a few experienced pros in. So I'm going for them to pick Charlton only on the basis that I worry about Charlton going into administration this year. In terms of points in the table, I think Charlton will be top 6, but I really worry off the pitch, which is why they've missed out. And Gillingham were my other dark horse that I've just left out as well, because they've signed well too.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll just quickly go on to Charlton and Wigan both got relegated from the Championship. It's an absolute mess for both clubs. We don't know what's going on. Wigan have only signed 10 senior players, and with no news on any new takeover, nothing like that. Do you feel that, one, are they going to start the season? Two, will they get more points deduction?
They sold the training ground, haven't they? Was it to Preston?
Yeah, Preston have got it now.
I think even as a player, if you're, I mean, not that you, I don't want to say you started signing desperate players, but you're not going to get players who are trying to reach aspirations in the game. You know, I've ended up with lads who are trying to keep their sort of roof over their head and will just sort of take any contract they can get, or boys who are coming to near the end of their playing career. So what I mean is they might be steady. They might get enough in after these 10 they've already signed, but it doesn't get, you know, as a player looking for a contract, it doesn't really inspire you to sign for them when you haven't even got a training ground that you own anymore. And that's just an example of it. So, no, I think at best they might sort of flounder in mid-table, but yeah, I can't see anything happening. And it's a real shame because a club like that shouldn't be in mid-table in League One, to be honest.
It's going to be a bit like you remember the Luton situation when we had -30 and then the day before the season, you've suddenly signed 9 players you had on trial. I saw Callum McManaman was back there in a friendly. But again, you look at his fitness at Luton last season, and yes, he's not quite as old perhaps as you would expect, but he can't play 2 games a week. And that's the problem Wigan have got. They're not going to have choice in the market. And beyond what happens this season, if they go down or stay up, whatever, it's not a problem. The owner situation has to be sorted because things like the training ground and if the stadium and things like that, they're more important longer term for the club.
Anyway, moving on. Daniel Cody, you got to get relegated to League Two.
Well, that conversation's going to continue, I'm afraid, because I've had no choice, and I'll start at the bottom. I've gone for Wigan to finish last. I haven't got an alternative because I can't see an end in sight off the pitch. All we've seen every day, and to be fair, largely our group chat has been another player's gone from Wigan today, another player's gone here. It's every day. And with the training ground and all the other bits as well, the squad's going to be signed late on. I can't see an end in sight. I really hope they get an owner, they're able to move through the league, but I can't see it happening. So Wigan bottom, it's just chaos. After that, I've gone for Rochdale in 23rd. The reason I've gone for Rochdale, they've lost a lot of good players and experience this summer. So you mentioned it in the League 2 one, Craigie and Henderson moving on. We've also got the likes of Callum Camps, who was a really good player for them. He's gone to Fleetwood, I believe, if I remember rightly. And then Williams, the centre-half as well. He's moved on as well. And they're just 2 of their star players, plus their most experienced. That doesn't add up well. They haven't signed anyone of note really so far. Although that could, of course, change. So Rochdale 23rd. In 22nd, and I know Craig will enjoy this one, I've gone for MK Dons. The reason I've gone for MK Dons is because they've lost a couple of big players again. Obviously, it was announced recently, Reece Healy's gone over to Toulouse in France. They've lost Alex Gilby as well. They're big players for them. We went to watch MK Dons around last Christmas and Gilby ran the show, to be brutally honest. So I'm a little bit worried about them. And in 21st... talking about Johnson Clark Harris, I've gone for Bristol Rovers because I can't see that the goals have been replaced yet. All of their signings, their average age of the signings is under 21, I think. They've all been really young signings. And I don't see that they're going to be able to get goals. And goals is always the most important thing to survival. Yeah,
because Bristol Rovers, striker-wise, they've only signed Jono Yunga, who you know very well from your days.
A lot of pressure on him, though, to walk straight in from basically non-league, isn't it? To then be identified as the man to try and keep them afloat. It's not exactly... it's a lot of pressure on him and make or break you on it.
I was expecting more mockery than that.
No.
So
overall, Cody, who have you got to win the playoffs? Because we didn't ask that question,
didn't I?
We didn't say anything.
To win the playoffs, but the reason I hadn't done that is because I hadn't decided or written it down. So that was the main reason. I am going to go... Oh, you put me on the spot here. It's going to be one of the top 2. So I'm going for Ipswich or Oxford in the final. I will have Ipswich Town. Let's go for the big boys and get proven wrong again. Ipswich Town, they will come up in 3rd place as well.
Charlie Betts, you're up and running. Who have you got to win League One?
Well, it's going to sound a bit like a broken record, so for the sake of the viewers, I won't go over the points that would have been made. But and I have got evidence of me sending this the other day, but no.
Yes.
Hull City to win the league, as we spoke about. Yeah, so obviously, as we said, about Hull, I think, you know, he's signed some good players like Greg Docherty. He's got a bit of experience in Scotland, and that players of that ilk. So like we mentioned before, I think Grant McCann actually is the right man to keep him up. We mentioned Sunderland as well, so I've gone for Sunderland second, only because I think that although they've done a bit of work, I don't think they cope with the pressure very well. I still think they'll have enough in the tank. And surely, like you said, Dan, after 3 years, I mean, they've signed Aidan O'Brien from Millwall, some lads like that. So they've got some players going in the right direction. I do worry slightly about the mentality, though, when it gets to the crunch time. So that's why I don't think they've quite got enough to win the league.
It's the Netflix camera, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, to be honest, yeah. So that's my top two.
And who have you got for the playoffs?
So there's some teams that Dan's mentioned, and there's others that are maybe a bit more of an outside bet. So similar to Dan, I went for Oxford United, and I think last year they were incredibly unlucky to not go up. I mean, another year, I know that's a bit of a cliche, but another year they would have sort of romped it. So I think, as much as it pains me to say it, Carl Robinson's doing a very, very good job there. He's bought players that are hungry. He took players from sort of Northern Ireland, from Scotland, places like that as well. Giving them a bit of a break for their career, and I think he's done well with them. So I actually hats off to him. So I think they'll finish in third. For fourth, slightly controversial, I've gone for Fleetwood. Now, wow. I know they've had a bit of an overhaul. I know that they've got rid of some players. However, I do think Joey Barton, last year they obviously were there or thereabouts, got rid of some of the deadwood. He's got people like Jordan Rossett are on a permanent now as well. So they are heading in the right direction. And I just think there's not much pressure on them. The whole thing's about Joey Barton, wherever Fleetwood go, not much pressure on the players. And actually, I think that suits them. So it's an outside bet. But I just think, we saw last year across all of the Football League how crazy it is. So why can't Joey Barton get Fleetwood back into the playoffs again? So I'm going for them for fourth. Peterborough, I've gone in fifth place. Now, you mentioned Peterborough already. Obviously, the whole Ivan Toney, Johnson, Clark, Harris. But they actually signed Ryan Broom from Cheltenham as well, who was a very good signing, a very good player. And it's sort of gone under the radar because of the whole Ivan Toney thing. Yeah. And I just think they're signing some quality players. And actually, they've signed some good players like Ryan Broom. And I think people like him are a bit of a game changer from last year. They obviously score goals and are great going forward. I hope, because actually I do enjoy watching them. I do actually hope that they do get into the playoffs, because I think a team like Peterborough are always good value for money when you go and watch them in big games and stuff like that. So I've gone for them in fifth place. And then I know it's a bit of an outside, well, not a bit, it's a massive outside one. I've gone for Blackpool in sixth place. Now, I know you're looking a bit confused, Craig, but they have actually brought in some strikers. They lacked goals last year. They brought in Nuttall and Lubala as well. So you're looking a bit confused, Dan. Sorry, have I made
I had them in my relegation chat, to be honest.
Oh, did you? I just think, I don't know, I the whole thing with the Oyster and all that's sort of hopefully behind them.
It's gone now. It's completely gone because fans have returned. Obviously, now, well, once they return, they will return.
And I just think that can make a massive difference when we talk about, you mentioned it with Sunderland, hopefully if the fans are back, it can be a bit of an intimidating place to go. It is an outside bet. Will they win the playoffs? No, but can they get up into the top six? In my opinion, yes. In terms of a winner, because I have already mentioned how much I was purring over them, I'm going to go for Peterborough to win the playoffs for the simple reason that I think they're an entertaining team and they score lots of goals.
I wouldn't have gone Blackpool anywhere near the playoffs. Kay's gone for them to be just above the relegation zone. So that
Wickham Wanderers. That's all I'm saying. Wickham Wanderers.
Wickham Wanderers. Yeah, we'll always remember.
No, I'm joking.
Wanderers. Charlie, who have you got to be relegated?
So yeah, to finish bottom of the table in 24th place, I've already mentioned them earlier. It was Rochdale I've gone for. You mentioned about Ian Henderson, but they've also released Aaron Wilbraham and Calvin Andrew. Now I know that they've got a lot of, they're getting on a bit, but there's a lot of goals there that they've let go of and haven't really replaced it at all. So as well as the other players you mentioned earlier, Dan, to lose all three of those in one go and not really bring anyone in, I just cannot see it for the life of me where there's any goals coming in from them. So I've gone for them to finish bottom. 23rd place, I've gone for Bristol Rovers. You mentioned them earlier. Obviously the whole thing of Johnson, Clark, Harris. Brought in a few lads on loan, but they just haven't replaced him. And like you say, he was a massive force for them last year. So unless, and obviously the whole transfer window thing could flip this on its head, unless they bring in some quality soon, I can't see them staying up. 22nd, I've gone for Akronton Stanley. Now, I know that obviously they were a team that went up with Luton a few years ago. There just seems to be a lot of youth players coming in, a lot of loans from teams from the league above, which can be great. But if you've got one or two, but they've got a sizable amount of them coming in, and I just think in League One, where it's quite physical, it's quite a combative sort of league, I don't know if you want that many youth lads around the sort of squad. So for me, I just don't see any experience in there as much as what they could have had. So I've gone for them in 22nd. And then 21st, I'm slightly regretting it now after the conversation we had before we went on air, but I went for AFC Wimbledon. I just thought they relied a little bit on the same sort of players, Piggott, people like that to keep them up. And I just feel like their luck might run out. But that was a bit of, it was any one of another 4 or 5 teams who could have gone down. But I just sort of plumped for AFC Wimbledon, although I'm slightly regretting that now. But I'm going to stick to my guns and go with them.
Wimbledon, were they due to have Plough Lane return this year?
Yeah, they're going back there in October, I think.
I did have Akronton down there as well, Charlie, to be fair, near enough.
The thing is, as we said earlier, League One, anything could happen, as we saw last year. But I just think there's some teams that really have been selling and not bringing anyone else in to replace,
And in 5 weeks, we could all look stupid.
Exactly, that's the problem. Yeah, we haven't got an excuse of not having.
First game of the season, we always look stupid. Anywho, that's Charlie and Daniel Cody's predictions. It's now my turn. The team I've got to win League One is Oxford United. I think they're going to be a bit stronger.
Jesus.
Yeah, I'm going for Oxford to win it. But they signed Matty Taylor from Bristol City. That's a very good experienced striker. And Sean Clare from Hearts, another good midfielder striker. He could do a job there as well. Hearts obviously got relegated last season, so I think that they'll be stronger. Obviously, they lost Jim Mackey's another side. They'll be hurt from that playoff final. They're unlucky in that playoff final, and I think they'll be a bit stronger. Second place, I went for Peterborough. I generally think the Johnson Clark Harris move is a very good move. Smart bit of business from Peterborough, to be honest. Third place in the playoffs, I've gone for Portsmouth for third. They're always there. They're always going to be there. It's a solid bet.
I couldn't risk it again.
But I think once the crowd get back into it again, what my only worry was after I made their prediction, run it down, was they did concede 3 against Stevenage.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, and I think if you don't, I'm not criticising any, but I think they've only got 18 sort of players signed on. It's not like they've got, they got rid of like Brett Pittman, people like that. I think obviously you got Roman Curtis and people like that who are still there, but it could be a really bold guess, but I don't know if it's the same Portsmouth we had last year. But I hope, for your sake, I hope it is.
So fourth place, I've gone for Sunderland. Once again, another solid bet, and obviously I know you picked them to go up to win the league, Cody. I think there'll still be another tough season for them. The owner wants to leave, or wants to get rid of the club again, and obviously there won't be as much money pumped in because if you watch the Sunderland Till I Die documentary, there wasn't really much money there anyway. So yeah, I think it'll be another tough one. I think they'll be in the playoffs again. Fifth place, I've gone for Hull. I think Hull will clear a bit of deadwood, as Charlie alluded to earlier. I expect a good season out of Malik Wills.
Yeah. Obviously
now signed permanently from Barnsley. But I expect a good season from him, to be honest. And as I said, Grant McCann's an experienced League One manager. He knows the league well. My worry for League One is that there's quite a lot of big teams in there now, like your Hulls and your Charltons and your Sunderland, your Portsmouth, Ipswich. So I feel a bit sorry. I know Cody went for Burton Albion as a smaller team to get promoted, but I've also gone for a smaller team that I think will make the playoffs as well. So I've gone for Gillingham.
I had them as my shout-out dark horse. That's why you smiled. I know now.
Yeah, they're my dark horse. Gillingham for 6. Do you know who they've signed? They signed Jacob Millis, Alex McDonald, and Verdane Oliver. Obviously, I know Verdane Oliver very well from my save at Chesterfield, who I won the league with. And he was at Northampton last season, got them promoted from League 2. So I think there's some really good signings there. And with Steve Evans in charge, he can easily do it. He's done it with Rotherham in the past, and he's got other teams promoted in the past with Crawley and with Fleetwood. So don't rule that out. So yeah, they're my team for 6th. Now, I was going to change my mind if I wanted promoted for the playoffs, and I'm up in an iron again. So at the moment, I've got Portsmouth to go up. That might change.
You'll regret it.
I'm not convinced of all 4 of my picks. No, I'm going to stick with Portsmouth. As grudgingly I want to say, I'm going to stick with Portsmouth. I think it's their time. So yeah, they're my pick for the playoffs. Relegation, starting off with 21st, is Swindon Town.
Owen Doyle's gone, isn't he?
Exactly, because I thought he was there. They signed him permanently. Now he's gone.
Bolton.
He's gone to Bolton. Where did that come about? So I was looking at it, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe let's see what Swindon got. Now I see Owen Doyle gone. I was like, why have we done that? So yeah, no Owen Doyle, no party. That's my explanation. 22nd, I've gone for Crewe. I feel bad about picking Crewe.
I thought they'd be all right.
Obviously got promoted last season, finished 2nd place. Probably going to be another young side. I feel like it'd be a bit too much. I don't know why. I hope Crewe survive. I really do. Dave Artels, I think, I'm a very good manager. I'd rather lose a point for Crewe to survive, to be honest. 23rd, I've gone for Rochdale. You two nailed it on the head, really. Lots of experience. Matheson, obviously the youngster, he went to Wolves. So went back alone. So obviously he's gone as well. So I'm not convinced on Rochdale. I'm really not. And 24th, Akronton. Very small budget. I don't see any. Obviously lost Jordan Clark. He's now gone to Luton. Yeah. The creativity for goals as well. I think him going. I'm not sure on them. So I think they'll be relegated.
So neither of you went for Wigan. Is that right?
Yeah, we both didn't go Wigan. I think Wigan will be down the bottom half. I don't.
But the only way I see them surviving is if they get an owner in place before.
Well, it's supposed to be due now.
Yeah, but no news. The statement from the administrators last week was very vague and worrying for me.
That is true.
I hope you two are right, genuinely.
Well, that's why I didn't go for Charlton as well, because I don't think Charlton lost a load of players. Obviously, they're still under a transfer embargo. And obviously, they've lost Tom Lockyer now. He's gone to Luton. They've obviously lost Lyle Taylor from last season.
Got Gilby,
Yep.
though.
So, yeah, that's why I didn't go for Charlton either, because I think they'll need a rebuild this season. And obviously, I think Lee Bowyer might get snapped up by a Championship club. In the season, once a Championship manager merry-go-round happens again. So let's just quickly round up our picks for the League One predictions. So Daniel Cody has gone for Sunderland to win the league, Hull second place, Ipswich third, Oxford fourth, Peterborough fifth, Burton Albion sixth, with Ipswich winning the playoffs. Relegation, Bristol Rovers 21st, MK Dons 22nd, Rochdale 23rd, Wigan 24th. Myself, I've gone for Oxford to win the league, Peterborough second, Portsmouth third, Sunderland fourth, Hull fifth, Gillingham sixth, with Portsmouth winning the playoffs. 21st, Swindon, 22nd, Crewe, 23rd, Rochdale, and Akronton 24th. And Charlie Betts' picks are Hull to win the league, Sunderland second, Oxford third, Fleetwood fourth, Peterborough fifth, Blackpool sixth, with Peterborough winning the playoffs. And AFC Wimbledon 21st, Akronton 22nd, Bristol Rovers 23rd, and Rochdale 24th. And those are our predictions. Let us know in the comments section if you think we are right, wrong, silly, or any other teams that you think we should actually pick for those spots. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And you can follow us on Twitter @HonestFootball3. And we'll see you for the Championship predictions.